Hello everybody and welcome to elPablo FC. This is the first long form video we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing these maybe once a week or depending on how less busy we feel. But thank you so much for, subscribing so far. And we're going to kind of like try to bring you as much breaking news, behind the scenes content and analysis as the case may be. We're already in the international break and the season has already started, especially in the Premier League. It's already 3 games in, but the transfer window has closed. And we're going to kind of be reviewing the club, like most clubs, transfer businesses, and be giving you kind of like a rating of everything. But let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, so you don't have to miss any updates as it relates to all things football content. So we're going to start with in the Premier League. Basically, we're reviewing all transfer business that have been done by clubs in the Premier League. We're going to start with Arsenal. So Arsenal, they signed Viktor Gyökeres, they signed Martin Zubimendi, Eberechi Eze, and Noni Madueke. And basically, their major, and also let's not forget Christian Norgard from Brentford. Their major departures this year, this transfer window, was Jorginho, who went to Flamengo. Kieran Tierney, I think, went back to Celtic. Jacob Kivior went to Porto on loan. Rhys Nelson went on loan, I think, to Brentford. Whatever the case. Now, the thing is, spearheaded by new sporting director Andrea Berta, Arsenal had clear gaps in the squad and moved decisively, to address them. A prolific centre forward in Viktor Gyökeres, a renowned midfielder in Martin Zubimendi, and a flair and unpredictable Noni Madueke with Eberechi Eze, playing potentially in the 10 or on the left. Talk of a marquee left winger such as Rafael Leao or Rodrigo quickly actually faded once Arsenal hijacked Spurs' move for Eberechi Eze, who now looks the prime candidate to challenge Gabriel Martinelli on the left for his starting role. Now, the only complaint the only complaint for the club would be that they continued, difficulty. They had a continued difficulty in offloading surplus players. 3 left on loan on deadline day, while rivals once again managed to cash in on other fringe members. Let's not also forget that they signed Christian Norgard in midfield to replace, I think, Thomas Partey, but it is what it is. So let me know your thoughts and feelings about this. Did Arsenal have a good window? I'm going to rate their window as an... So we're going to do this in over 5. I'm going to rate their window as 3 over 5 because they got their players, but then they found it difficult to offload. And then for Aston Villa, the major signings was Marco Bizot, who is their new goalkeeper, Evan Gezand, Harvey Elliott on loan from Liverpool, and Jadon Sancho on loan from Manchester United. The major departures was Jacob Ramsey, Leander Dendonka, and Leon Bailey, who went on loan as well. So Aston Villa had a disappointing window, obviously, salvaged in part by their clever use of the loan market on deadline day. Jadon Sancho signed from Manchester United, Harvey Elliott also from Liverpool, offering much needed creativity, but the sale of academy graduate Jacob Ramsey to Newcastle under PSL pressure was the blow. So basically, I'm going to give Aston Villa on this one, I'm going to give them a 2 because they had a poor window, as the case may be. The next one is, because we're following alphabetical order, so the next one is Bournemouth. Now, Bournemouth, major signings, they had Eli Krupi, Adrian Truffet, Georgi Petrovic, goalkeeper, Bafobi Diakite, and Amine Adil, right? And Amine Adli. Now, the major departures were Dean Howson went to Real Madrid, Milos Kerkez went to, this is Bournemouth, Milos Kerkez went to Liverpool, Ilya Zabanyi went to PSG, and Dango Ouattara went to Brentford. Now, following a strong season under Andoni Iraola, Bournemouth supporters were dealt an early setback, in the window, losing Dean Howson to Real Madrid, Milos Kerkez to Liverpool, and Ilya Zabanyi to PSG. However, Adrian Truffet already looks like a fine replacement for Milos Kerkez, while Bafobi Diakite also has slotted in so naturally that Zabanyi's absence has not been felt. So I'm going to give Bournemouth a 3 because they replaced, but obviously they replaced with good players. I mean, Dango Ouattara has already scored 2 goals or scored 1 goal. He scored on his debut anyway. rather, no, what not Dango Ouattara. I'm talking of Adrian Trophy has played very well. Georgi Petrovic, goalkeeper, has played very well. I think they sold their goalkeeper and they got Georgi Petrovic. So it is a good deal for them. So I think a good window for a C. They let go of 4 players, and they signed 5 players or thereabout, including goalkeeper, 5 or 6 players. So I'm giving them a 3. And then for Brentford actually, the major signings were Kumin, Kelleher, Michael Kayode, I think Michael Kayode, Jordan Henderson from Ajax, Dango Ouattara from Bournemouth, and Reece Nelson from Arsenal. Major departures were Mark Flecken, goalkeeper, Christian Norgard to Arsenal, Bryan Mbeumo to Man United, Yoane Wissa to Newcastle. Bryan Mbeumo and Yoane Wissa were responsible for 39 of Brentford's 66 Premier League goals last season. Igor Thiago's return from a long-term injury should also provide a lift, but Dango Ouattara and Reece Nelson hardly look like successors from Mbeumo and Wissa. But Dango Ouattara has already started scoring for Brentford, so we could expect to see more from them. Then when we talk of other players that must have been signed, especially for Brighton, because I'm moving to Brighton now. Brighton, the major signings were Tommy Watson, Diego Capola, Oliver Bosagli, and Maxime De Kuyper. Now, major departures were Joao Pedro, Simon Adingra, Joao Pedro to Chelsea, Adingra to Sunderland, Pervis Estupinian to AC Milan, Julio Enciso, Facundo Buenanote on loan to Chelsea. No, he went back from he's left on loan, but I think he's been sold. Ego Julio on loan, Matorelli on loan. So Brighton actually kept a low profile in the market with fullbacks like Maxime De Kuyper, the most high profile addition. The Seagulls appear, content with their squad, opting to save their money for incomings rather than spending for the sake of it now. They also had interest in their players like Carlos Baleba, but apparently the deal couldn't go through because Man United wanted to buy him and they did not want to sell. So I'll give Brighton for their transfer window, low-key transfer window, probably a 2 because they didn't really do much. They let go of a lot, but they didn't sign so many. But their squad is tight as well. Burnley, they have major signings: Marcus Edwards, Jadon Anthony, Bashir Humphreys. We have Lum Chauna. They have Kilichi Hartman. They have Kyle Walker. They have Jacob Brun Larsen. They have Leslie Ugochukwu from Chelsea, Martin Dubravka from Newcastle, Armando Broja from Chelsea, and Florentino Luis. That's a lot of players. Major departures, they had James Trafford, who went to Manchester City, Michael Obafemi. They have CJ Egan Riley. They have Han Noah Masengo and Aaron Ramsey on loan, as well as Luka Koleo Shaw, on loan as well. I think he's left back to, Koleo Shaw. Yeah, try to remember where he played last season. Koleo Shaw played for Burnley 2 seasons ago. Yeah, and went to Luton Town, I think. Depends. I think Luton when they came to the Premier League. Now, Burnley needed to make some strong additions to have a chance of staying in the league, while the squad has certainly been strengthened, basically, with the likes of Martin Dubravka, Kyle Walker, Armando Broja, quite experienced players. Doubts still remain over whether it is enough. So we're going to give them a 2 in this one. For Chelsea, they've strengthened. They've signed players, and obviously we all know Chelsea signs a lot of players. So before we start, I already know basically they went earlier in the window, won the Club World Cup, and got 2 strikers. Major signings: Liam Delap, Jamie Gittins, Jorge Hato, Alejandro Garnacho, Estevo, Facundo Buenanote, who they got from Brighton on loan. I think their transfer window will probably be between 4 and 5, so let's give them a 4. Major departures: Noni Madueke, Joao Felix, Kenan Drisby Hall, Kepa Arrizabalaga, Renato Viega, Christopher Nkunku, Nicholas Jackson, went on loan to Bayern Munich. Chelsea continued with their big moves. They're the big movers of the transfer market, securing English talents like Liam Delap, Jeremy Gittens, and especially during the World Cup, Jorge one to watch as well. While Estevao is a gem in the making. Todd Boehly has also continued to work his magic with player exits, generating significant fees from fringe players. However, with Delap out injured and Nicholas Jackson off to Bayern, Chelsea left themselves short up front, prompting for the recall of McGui from Sunderland, who they sent. And so we're going to give them pretty much a 4. And then for Crystal Palace, because like I said, we're going down the alphabetical order. For Crystal Palace, they went for major signings like Walter Benitez, Borna Sosa, Yeremi Pino, Crisantus Uche, and JD Canvo. Now, departures were Eberichi Eze, Joe Ward, Jeffrey Schlupp. Yeah, Jeff Schlupp has been there for a while. Rob Holding, I think from Arsenal. I think Rob Holding has been there for a while as well. Usman Odson Edward too has left. He's been there for a while, finding it hard to start, seeing as their striker has been doing really well as well. So Crystal Palace let Eberichi depart. McGahey appeared to set to follow, only for the deal to collapse at the last moment due to the Palace not signing an adequate replacement. The club did bring highly rated Yeremi Pino from Villarreal and Crisantus Uche from Getafe, or Getafe as case may be, but there is a sense that recruitment has not been sufficient to satisfy Oliver Glasner. And Oliver Glasner wanted to walk if Crystal Palace sold McGahey. So I'll give Crystal Palace, I'll give them a 2 in this one, 2/5. And then we have Everton. Everton as well. Everton, the major signings were Jack Grealish on loan, Tyler Diblin, who was of interest to Manchester United, TMO Barry, Kenan Dewsbury Hall, Charlie Alcaraz, and Marlon Roll from on loan. And the major departures, Dominic Calvert-Lewin let go. Abdoulaye Doucouré let go as well. Ashley Young, same thing, released. Mason Holgate and Neil Mope were all let go. Jack Grealish is the highlight of Everton's window, but David Moyes has also strengthened across board. Barry adds exciting potential. Diblin also, that's Tieno Barry. He adds exciting potential. Diblin has also been yearning for a move back to the Premier League after an impressive first season with Southampton in the Premier League last season. And then Kenan Dewsbury Hall from Chelsea has a chance to impress in midfield. Everton also looks sharper and definitely a team to watch this season. So they get a 4 in the transfer window because they've actually strengthened, especially as the transfer window progressed. The next one is Fulham. Now, major signings, Benjamin Lecomte. They have Kevin, and they also have Samuel Chukwueze, who was sent on loan from AC Milan. And then major departures, Carlos Vinicius and Willian. Fulham finally acted on deadline day after a relatively quiet summer, securing Kevin from Shakhtar Donetsk and Nigerian international Samuel Chukwueze on loan from AC Milan. While there was, potential for a more ambitious window, they have, done well to avoid losing key players and still strengthen their squad. So we give them a 3 in this one. A 3 in the transfer window, just for the sake of the fact that they strengthened, but they've done well to keep their squad the same. They only let go of 2 players, Carlos Vinicius and Willian. And then we move to Leeds. Leeds United, major signings were Lucas Mecha from Werder Bremen. They have Jaka Biol, Sebastian Bonau, Gabriel Gudmundsen, Sean Logstaff from Newcastle, Dominic Calvert-Lewin from as a free agent from Everton, James Justin, Lucas Perry from Olympique Lyon. Lucas Perry from Olympique Lyon, Noah Okafor from AC Milan, and Anton Sturch. Major departures were Junior Firpo, who has been there for a while. Sam Greenwood, same thing, been there for a while. Joshua Joshua Guilavogi. That should be it. Now, the verdict. basically for that, like why they were able to succeed in that, and what would be my rating for Leeds would be maybe like a 2.5 to around 3. Too many signings. Reasons why. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, James Justin, and Sean Longstaff will bring proven Premier League experience, while Noah Okafor represents the kind of signing aimed to turning Leeds' survival hope into reality. The signings are also clearly well considered, but whether they will be enough to keep the club up remains uncertain. So we give them a 2.5, maybe closer to 3 than ever. And then for Newcastle, maybe these are the ones that got the 5/5 window. Was it Newcastle? No, for Liverpool rather. Liverpool got the 5/5 window in this one. They signed major signings. Jeremie Frimpong, Hugo Ekitike, Florian Wirtz, Alexander Isak, Milos Kerkez, and Georgi Mamadashvili. And these are players that they spent a lot of cash trying to get. Departures were Trent Alexander-Arnold went to Real Madrid, Darwin Núñez, Al Hilal, Luis Diaz to Bayern Munich, so they really sold well. Gerald Konsa sold to Bayer Leverkusen, and then they have Harvey Elliott who was sent on loan to Bournemouth, and then Kostas Tsimikas was also sent on loan. So Liverpool actually looked to have won the window basically because they spent a whole lot trying to get even Alexander Isak, right? They spent a lot trying to get even Alexander Isak. They won the window, spending big in bringing in their main targets, Alexander Isak, in the center forward. They have also long pursued, finally concluding a drawn-out transfer saga. Florian Wirtz also looks like a real talent, but has a lot of time, needs a lot of time to get used to the Premier League. After 3 games, should be for the money, but also they spent on him, while Jeremie Frimpong, Milos Kerkez, and Hugo Ekitike, represent bold additions across the squad. Another one, so what we can give them, obviously, for getting all their targets is 5/5. They get 5/5. And then for Man City, they get a 4 because they got their business done and really cheap. So Ryan Aït-Nouri, Ryan Cherki, Tijani Reinders, James Trafford, Gianluigi Donnarumma. But they haven't really had a good start, as Man City has always had these kinds of starts at the beginning of the season. But let's see how that goes. And the next game is against Manchester United. Major departures include Kevin De Bruyne, Kyle Walker, James McAtee, Manuel Akanji, Ederson, Ike Gundogan, who went to Galatasaray. Ederson went to Fenerbahce. Then we have Jack Grealish sent on loan to Everton, and then Claudio Echeverri sent on loan as well. Business done early was the mantra of Man City this summer. Ryan Cherki was brought in to fill the void left by Kevin De Bruyne, while James Trafford was resigned as a long-term option in goal. However, after a slow start to the campaign, Pep Guardiola seized the opportunity to sign Gianluigi Donnarumma from PSG. Ike Gundogan has departed, but Tijani Reinders has also looked like a refreshing addition in the midfield. Jack Grealish has moved on loan to Everton in search for more game time and a new challenge. And you can tell that Jack Grealish has really, played well and all of that. So they get a 4/5. And then for Manchester United, major signings: Matheus Cunha, Bryan Mbeumo, Benjamin Sesko, Senna Lamens, and Diogo Leon. Major departures were Christian Eriksen, Alejandro Garnacho, Anthony, Rasmus Højlund, who went on loan. Jadon Sancho went on loan. Marcus Rashford went on loan. I'll give their transfer market rating a 3. And I'll give this a 3 because obviously, if it had been a 4 or a 5, it is strengthened the midfield. Manchester United's new trial of Cunha, Mbeumo, and Benjamin Sesko, basically they replaced the entire front line or forward line by letting go Rasmus, Jadon, and Marcus Rashford, as well as Alejandro Garnacho. So 4 players let go and then replace the entire front line with 3 players. Obviously, they fit exactly what Ruben Amorim had in mind for a rebuild. Alejandro Garnacho, Rasmus Højlund, Jadon Sancho, and Marcus Rashford will also be plying their trades elsewhere after being told that they are not needed. Senna Lamens arrives as the next goalkeeping reinforcement from Royal Antwerp, but it is evident that the Red Devils need more time than just new faces to steer their team back to where it is supposed to be. So we move on to Newcastle. Newcastle get 3.5, 4, 3.5, 3.5. Even though, yeah, 4. I give them 4. I give them 4. Let's see. Let me tell you why I said I'll give them a 4. Now, the major signings were Anthony Elanga, Malik Thiaw, Jacob Ramsey, Yoane Wissa, Nick Votamade, and Aaron Ramsdale on loan. Major departures include Alexander Isak, sold for a lot of money. That's why I said I give them a 4. Lloyd Kelly, Sean Longstaff, Martin Dubravka, and Matt Target, who sent on loan. Alexander Isak dominated the Newcastle's window, but the Magpies have still been able to strengthen smartly, notably Anthony Elanga and Jacob Ramsey from Premier League rivals. They're Premier League proven. They signed Premier League proven players, so I gave them a 4. Yoane Wissa is expected to step in as a natural successor for Isak, and then German under 21 international Nick Votamade, who appeared set for Bayern Munich after finishing as top scorer in the summer's 2021 Euro under 21. Will also be ready to take his opportunity when it comes. So they've strengthened smartly, they've spent well, and we look forward to seeing they bought Premier League proven players, which is the most important thing. So yeah. The next one is Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest also Igor Jesus. They got Igor Jesus, they got Jerry Cunha, they got Dan Ndoye, they got Omari Hutchinson, so many players. James McCarthy, they've signed Arnold Kalimuendo, they signed Dylan Bakwa, Nicolo Savannah, John Victor from the Brazilian League. They have Cuibano Douglas Luiz on loan from Juventus, and then Alexander Zinchenko. Major departures, they had Andrew Omobamidele, they had Harry Toffolo, they had Ramon Sosa, Emmanuel Dennis. Obviously, Emmanuel Dennis has been there for ages, man. He's been there. Maybe injured, I believe. So then there's Matt Turner. Emmanuel Dennis is the Nigerian striker. Oh my days, he's been there. I never realized he was still at Nottingham Forest. Now, Forest also brought in more than a dozen new players, including highly rated England under 21 international Omari Hutchinson, who I thought was a good player for Ipswich Town last year, and then James McCarthy from Man City. Dan Ndoye is also an exciting player to watch, while Arnold Kalimuendo arrives with an impressive League One scoring record. So I give them 4 because they've signed really well, signed a lot of players. You take a lot of blending as well, and they did really well last season. Next one is Sunderland. Their major signing in this one is Granit Xhaka, but we're going to list all of them. Enzo Lefebvre, Habib Diarra, Noah Siddiqui. They have Reinildo. They also have Chemsidine Talbi, Simon Adingra from Brighton, Granit Xhaka from Bayern Leverkusen, Nodi Mukiele, Brian Brobby from Ajax, and then they have Lord Charel, Gertrude on loan. Major departures, they had Tommy Watson and Joe Bellingham, as well as Pierre Ekwa. They sold Joe Bellingham really well and all of that. So I'll give Sunderland a 4. They did well. They reinforced really well, and they've done well beginning of the season. Sunderland have put their promotion money to good use, and with the addition of Granit Xhaka, one of the most surprising moves of the summer, while Dutch duo Brian Brobby and Lacherel Geertruida represents a remarkable coup for newly promoted sides. I mean, Brian Brobby, very aggressive striker, could also score at least 9-10 goals this season, because I watched him last season at Ajax. And then the next people will go, so I'll give Sunderland a 4, as I said. I also give Spurs a 4 because they also signed well. Major signings, Mathys Tel. Obviously, I've not seen enough to tell me that Mathys Tel is a good player. Kevin Danso, they were both on loan and then be confirmed. Mohammed Kudus was the major one. Xavi Simons, last minute one. So then Joao Palhinha on loan, major signing, good, in defensive midfield. And then Randall Kolumwani. Okay, maybe based on what I've seen, I'll change my ratings from a 4 to a 3. And major departures, Heung-min Son, Fraser Foster, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, and Sergio Reguilon were all let go. Basically, the verdict or the summary is that securing deals for Mohammed Kudus, Xavi Simons is a solid outcome. Also, Spurs were often outmaneuvered, hijacked. Obviously, so many strikers, so many players. Mbeumo Cunha, case in point, and also Eberechi Eze and the other Nottingham Forest guy. I keep forgetting his name. Anyway, With hijack targets moving elsewhere, like Thomas Frank still managed to bring two exciting playmakers to add experience with Joao Palhinha and to strengthen the attack with Randall Kolo Muani. So basically, Spurs really signed well, and I give them a 3. They would have gotten more, but it is what it is. They were pivoted to other options. And then the next one is West Ham. Now, West Ham's major signings this year, Jean-Claire Todibo, who came in. Jean-Claire Todibo came in as a loan signing last year, or last January or last year, and then he's been made permanent. They will have El Hadji Malik Diouf. They have Kyle Walker-Peters from Southampton. And then they have Callum Wilson from Newcastle. They have Mads Hermansen. They have Sungotu Magasa, Matheus Fernandes, and Igor Julio from on loan. Now, I'll give West Ham probably a 2.5. Now, 2.5 because the major departures are on Cresswell, Vladimir Kufal, Lukas Fabianski, Danny Ings, Mohammed Kudus, Mikel Anthony, and Emerson. All these players are kind of surplus requirements and we're kind of holding West Ham back, so they probably were successful in selling these players. West Ham also endured a difficult start to the season already with new signings Mads Hermansen struggling in goal, but also a convincing win on the weekend inspired by performances from Matheus Fernandes and who they signed from Southampton, and then El Hadji Malik Diouf from Slavia Prague gives fans a reason to be optimistic. So maybe a 2.5. And then Wolves, which is the last team on our list here, Wolves gets 2 from this one because basically major signings they made permanent Jürgen Strand Larsen in July, Fer Lopez, John Arias, David Mola Wolf, Jackson Chachua, and then they have Tolu Arokodare, and then they have Ladislav Krejci. Now Ladislav Krejci is from on loan. I've changed my rating for Wolves from 2 to a 3 because they signed Tolu Arokodare as a striker because they've never always had a backup for Jürgen Strand Larsen, right? And they sold really well to really good teams like Matheus Cunha to Man United, 60-something million, 62.5 million pounds. Ryan Aït-Nouri to Man City. So they really sold well. They had a good transfer. So 3. Changed my ratings from a 2 to a 3. Pablo Sarabia, Nelson Semedo. Even for Fabio Silva, they have Chiquinho, Gonzalo Guedes, and Craig Dawson were let go. Basically, pretty much surplus requirement, fringe players, and all of that. So, if we're going to go with that, the interest, despite interest from several clubs, including Newcastle, Wolves also managed to keep hold. That's the reason why I gave my 3.3 over 5. They managed to keep hold of Jürgen Strand Larsen and added Tolu Arokodare. So basically, he's Tolu Arokodare was a player. Arokodare was a player. I did a preview, a review on my other channel about because I heard Man United were interested in him and all of that. But obviously, he's Belgian Pro League's top scorer last season. And they added him to Wolves so he could work there as well as a hard worker, good goal scorer, as a goal poacher, one who sees and sniffs dangers in the box. So Wolves' window seems much weaker in comparison to other Premier League clubs, no doubt. And they will also be reliant on their forwards to avoid relegation. So, but because they've started really poorly and all of that. So let me know your thoughts and feelings about the whole transfer window ratings. I've tried to give you like a breakdown of everything that's happened, especially in the Premier League. When we get the chance to, we will see if we can do something for other leagues. But yeah, so let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section. And I'll see you on the next one. Please do not forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't have to miss anything as relates to all things football. So thank you so much. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Goodbye and God bless.